A confident young god enters a cave to hunt a monster. Instead, that god walks out that cave terrified of it. Something that scares a god. I love Gorr the God Butcher as a villain. To be fully honest, the entire God Butcher storyline is what got me to kind of understand Thor's character a bit more. I never outright hated Thor as a character, I just was never really interested in any of his stories till I read that, and I completely now understand why people love Thor's character and his entire world. First thing I really want to talk about is why I think Gorr's character works, besides obviously his entire origin and his way of thinking, or even how brutal he is. I really want to talk about how at the beginning of the comic they really set up the fact that Thor is terrified of the guy. He is scary to a god, and it builds his character up so much, and it's amazing. That day, his first meeting with Gorr the God Butcher terrified him. A normal person was able to overpower a god with ease, capturing him, torturing him for days to find out where Asgard is, and it just left Thor traumatized. Forever this creature, this person, hides in his mind in the darkness of it. So when Thor realizes the God Butcher has returned, he knows he must stop him. I love the first interaction of Gorr and Thor. It straight away shows how much presence Gorr has. It shows how dangerous and cruel he can be, and how much pure joy he's getting out of it all. It just works extremely well, and the art in all of this comic is really amazing. Like in general, especially the way Gorr is like posed all the time. It looks great, and this moment just shows kind of the fear that is stricken into this young Thor. For some reason, the film adaptation of Gorr decided to cut this part out, even though you can very much easily adapt it and not retcon any stuff. Just make it that Thor doesn't like talking about it, because it is a very traumatic thing that happened in his past. Though that film is also filled with other problems, such as them trying to adapt the Jane Foster storyline while also adapting the Gorr storyline. And I don't mind Jane Foster as Thor, I quite like it, but you can't do that story while also trying to balance out the story of Gorr the God Butcher. I also just don't like Gorr's performance in that film. Look, I know that's kinda controversial because some people still say this is a good performance as Gorr, but I don't agree. Something's off about it, and I feel like Gorr's voice is wrong. And I know it's a comic, so that's forever going to be a very subjective matter on how Gorr the God Butcher should sound, but to me, the film adaptation, it never felt like Gorr from the comics. I feel like Gorr's voice, at least to me, should be more imposing. This echoing voice that echoes out, someone who is calculated when speaking, but the moment he kind of gets angry, that begins to kind of break apart. Okay, like something like the Phantom of the Opera, I'll put a clip, got a specific version.
Insolent boy, this slave of fashion, basking in your glory. Ignorant fool, this brave young suitor, sharing in my triumph.
Or even the voice actor who does Darth Maul from the Clone Wars and all that, his voice is kinda very similar in vibe, I would feel like.
Lost. I am lost. And yet, I can feel his presence. So close, so close. I can see him in my mind's eye.
Either way, this doesn't matter. Back to the comic. Before everything, Gorr was just a farmer, a person who would beg and pray for their god to save them, to help him and his family to not starve, for his family to live and be able to continue to live a long life. But that never happened. Slowly his family die, one by one, as he is left truly alone, with only the thoughts of his dead children and wife to keep him company as he wanders the dried out lands of his planet. All he can think of is to wish for his death, not heaven or hell, just darkness, so he must never feel again. Then comes down the crashing of the gods, two holy beings booming as they crash into the ground. Gorr stares to see two gods, the people he would worship and look up to. They lie in the ground dying from both of them fighting with each other. One of the holy beings notices Gorr. They stare up at him and asks him for help. Gorr questions the god in anger. Where were you when my children were starving? When my wife was screaming for your help? When my mother was being butchered like an animal? Where were you when we needed our gods? On that day, Gorr took a weapon and butchered his first god. I think if you've seen my channel before, then you might know I very much am a fan of villains who have a lot of hatred towards the world. So it's kind of obvious I would end up loving Gorr's character, considering how much I love Victor Von Doom's character. Though both are very different. Victor's anger started from his family being treated wrongly for being Romani, that eventually building up into a trauma response of him trying to prove he's better than people and constantly blaming himself for what happened to his family, even though it's just how his life was. With Gorr, it is different. Gorr's anger definitely is more focused on a specific group, obviously being the gods. People he saw as his saviors basically failing him, being as similar as him. And this all leads him to spiral. He begins to hurt gods, kill them, torture them, and slowly he begins to love doing it. Slowly his anger of wanting revenge disappears, and instead he is just doing this for enjoyment. He enjoys gaining this power over them, being able to control them and hurt them so deeply. That's what he's gaining from it, not this sense of revenge. Thor, on the other hand, is a god that Gorr deeply hates, mostly because he was able to escape him and technically kill him. Gorr had power, he had control in the situation, but that was all lost because Thor was still smart enough to escape him. That's why he hates him. It has nothing to do with this greater idea of having revenge for his family. I think that's another aspect of Gorr that makes him more interesting. He's not just a revenge story. He completely loses that aspect of himself. He merely uses his family's death as an excuse to continue horrific acts. Unlike characters like Magneto, who at least keeps his original intentions, he has a reason for wanting mutants to be the only people to rule the world, and it comes from his origin. Even Doctor Doom wanting to control people comes from the fact that he could not control his life as a child. He had to see his people die because he could not do anything about it. Gorr, with the help of a god of bombs, plans out to build a bomb to kill all gods. And to punish the gods more, he makes it that they have to build it for him. Gorr also uses his weapon to recreate his wife and son, but things are different. Gorr does not treat them as the same people they were. He doesn't really care about them. He sees them as more of objects he has, as his main focus stays to the gods. He doesn't look at his son and feel proud because of what he's done or how hard he's worked. He looks at him and feels proud because his son believes in his goal, in his joy for killing gods. Gorr is seemingly unstoppable at this moment. He has been able to defeat Thor in all of his forms, past, present, and future. His god bomb is ready, and to that his wife smiles joyfully, staring at her husband clouded in darkness. You have suffered so much, my love. I know you have endured horrors beyond imagining for so very long, yet never have you wavered in your calling, never have you lost faith in what is just and right, and never have I lost faith. My faith in you. You are the only being I have ever known who was worthy of worship. You are the brightest star in all of heavens. You, Gorr, my love, my savior, you are my God. Even though this started because of his wife and children dying, Gorr takes no hesitation in killing his wife, just because she referred to him as a god. And this is very much where it goes into the fact that Gorr is very much a bigot in a way. To explain more, the creator of the comic very much explained what inspired Gorr the God Butcher was his own thoughts on religion in the past, how he very much had an anger towards this idea of a godlike being doing nothing to save specific people. The main thing a lot of people talk about with Gorr online is very much just, oh, he's very powerful and he tortures and kills people. What I don't think is the interesting part. This happens to, though, a number of comic characters, whether they are superheroes or supervillains. But like I've said before in this video, Gorr's descent into this very bigoted, hateful person is what's interesting. He very much had logical reasons to hate the gods, but as his anger grew and as he began to hurt more people, that anger just kept going, to a point it didn't matter what the god did or who worshipped it, he would just kill them anyway. He couldn't care if that god or person who believed in it was hateful, or if they were malicious. He just kills them because they don't believe in what he believes in. The obvious ironic thing about this is that Gorr is very much a god at this point, or at least some sort of myth. Was all he done on purpose, but I do still find it really funny that how against it he is, because he has become something so much larger than life, and very much just this presence, and he is so against being that, even though this is what he's built himself up to be. All this leads to one very fun final fight, and Gorr losing, falling to his knees and seeing everything he's done has failed, and ultimately it's all been very much pointless. Overall, Gorr the God Butcher is just a really good villain that goes into the character's descent into anger and hate, and it just works really well. I still very much consider him one of my favourite Marvel villains. I still think Dr. Doom will forever be my favourite, but he is just a really good villain. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, you can obviously like it, or feel free to dislike it if you didn't. I have more comic book videos on my channel if you want to check those out. But yeah, that's all, and goodbye.